What is up, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of Touchdown and Ties, the father-daughter sports podcast discussing football and everything else in between. I'm your co-host, Brianna, the daughter of this duo.
What up, everybody? I'm Keith, her dad, the other co-host.
In today's episode, we are going to be talking about part 1 of week 13 of the NFL. But before we do, if you haven't already, please go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you get updated whenever we upload an episode. And of course, it also helps us out as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so let's start on a not so happy note. Let's talk about the home team. Green Bay has shut out the Lions, I guess you could say, for this season. The Lions will not get a chance again to redeem themselves from week 1 as they lost to Green Bay yesterday on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, tough loss for the Lions, and they didn't look good at all doing it. Expected the Lions to come out with a little bit more fire than they did, considering that they lost the first time they played these guys, but sometimes you just have to admit that the other team is just better. And this year, the Packers, just a better team than the Lions. When they picked up Michael Parsons in the offseason, I think that shifted the balance between those two teams to Green Bay. And that's one of the things that the Lions are going to have to address. It's going to be an uphill battle for them to make the playoffs this year. We still have, 4 or 5 games left to go, but I think it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. But what Green Bay did, they didn't really have a urgent need to get a pass rusher. But they went out and they got one anyway. And it's something that the Lions have refused to do under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. Last year, they went out and picked up Zadarius Smith. But, you had an opportunity there. Michael Parsons was available coming into the season. Then at the trade deadline, you had a guy like Sauce Gardner that was available. I don't know what the asking price for these guys were. I mean, I guess we kind of know because we see what Indianapolis gave up to get Sauce, and we see what Green Bay gave to Dallas to get Michael Parsons. When your window of opportunity is open, you have to take it. And, you're sitting back saying that we're good with the guys that we have, and obviously that's not the formula. Now, again, I mean, there are 5 games left to go in the season. The Lions could win all 5 and then it'll make me look crazy, right?
I hope that's the case. Not with the way they've been playing. I don't think it's crazy to say the things that you're saying right now.
You tell me, given what you've seen from the Lions this season, what have you seen to make you believe that they can beat anybody that's left on their schedule? I get that they still have the Steelers on their schedule. They still have the Vikings on their schedule. But the last time the Lions played the Vikings beat them.
They looked horrible. They looked horrible before they played the Lions, and they looked horrible since they played them. But when they played the Lions, they looked amazing. What is that?
So, I mean, me personally, I don't have any confidence. I haven't seen the Lions beat a good team this year.
Right.
I haven't seen them beat a good team this year. And now you're coming into the stretch run here, and you still have, three really good teams left on your schedule. You have the Cowboys, you have the Rams, and you have the Bears left on your schedule. So I don't know. I mean, I always say the sky is not falling, but it feels like the sky is falling because the Lions they're just struggling right now. Then St. Brown gets hurt yesterday.
First quarter of the game, he's out.
Guys can't catch a break.
Yeah, I mean, you already have Laporta that's gone for the rest of the season. He's not come back because he just had back surgery. And then you have St. Brown that goes out with an ankle injury. The only silver lining is that it looks like he's not going to miss a ton of time. He's going to avoid at least going on to IR, which is also good. Again, you already have an offensive line that is very much hurt. You have Laporta that's out. And then not to mention the injuries that you have going on in the defense. It's like, Jesus Christ. Why is it that everybody keeps getting hurt? I don't understand that.
And Dan Campbell said it. He alluded to it after they lost that championship game to the 49ers, that may have been their best shot, the only shot to get to the Super Bowl. And, 2 years later, we're finding out that may have been true. Yeah. And I kind of thought that too, but when they lost to the 49ers.
Just because you're that close, you never know where you can get back there.
Yeah, you just never know. I mean, because the Lions were very, very fortunate. When they went into that game against the 49ers, everybody was healthy. All of their top players were healthy. Since that time, I mean, all of 2024, the Lions were decimated with injuries. This year, they've been decimated with injuries, and not to mention they lost Ben Johnson, they lost Aaron Glenn, so the team is just not the same. The team is never going to be the same from year to year. So I kind of agree with them. You can look at it on paper and go like, oh man, these guys are young, they're good, they're going to be back, but you just never know because it's hard to win. In the NFL, it's hard to keep your guys healthy and make it to. Sometimes it's not even about who's best; it's about the team that can stay the healthiest.
Right.
And yeah, in that particular year, the Lions were a pretty healthy team. And then you're dominating the game at halftime, and then you come back out in the second half and get dominated.
Right,
So
don't do
I
anything.
couldn't do anything. So I mean, I kind of saw, the same thing that he saw,
Mhm,
even though he
mhm.
later came back and cleaned it up a little bit, but I understood what he was saying.
Yeah.
I
So
understood what
what
he
what
said.
what is your take on now everybody kind of being upset now with how aggressive Dan Campbell is? Because there was one point in time, obviously, when Ben Johnson was still there, when Aaron Glenn was still
Mhm.
there, all the going on fourth downs and third down conversions, people was loving it. But
Right.
now they can't seem to do it right. So now everybody wants him to be more conservative. So it's interesting to know
Mhm.
like when it's working, it's great. When it's not working, everybody's getting irritated. So and I know you've said that too. It's like sometimes like you can go in with one game plan and then once you realize it's not working, that's when you need to kind of switch your approach and to change things. And then it
Right.
seems like against their game against the Packers yesterday was kind of like the same story because it was like a 38-yard attempt that they chose to forego on and then go for it on fourth down where they could have got some points in the fourth quarter and they didn't. So it was kind of a
Mhm.
same case scenario of when they played the Eagles versus when they played Green Bay yesterday.
Fans are fickle. Like
Yeah.
when things work, we love
It's
it.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, when things don't work, we just like, man, he need to do this, he need to do
Yeah.
that.
He sucked.
But my only criticism with Dan Campbell is that it doesn't seem as if he adjusts to the game that's going on
Mhm.
in that
Mhm.
in that moment. I know you have a philosophy, you want to be aggressive, you want to go for every fourth down, you want to do all these things. But when it's 4th and 4 coming out
Mhm.
of the second half, you get the ball to start the second half. It's 4th and 4 at the 50-yard line and you go for it. To me, that's asinine,
Yeah.
especially when you consider, you have a couple offensive linemen that's out. St. Brown got hurt in that game. Laporta's already out, out. So, you're dealing with a situation where you don't have all your weapons available to you. And it's high risk, high reward because at that point in the game, it was still like 17-14 coming
Yeah.
out of halftime. So you're still in it. And then Jack Fox is one of the best punters in the NFL. So, if you let him punt the ball and maybe pin them deep in their own territory. I mean, who knows?
Mhm.
Maybe they ultimately would have scored anyway, but to
Yeah.
go for it right there in that situation on 4th and 4 and then you not make it, and then they
Right.
come out 2 or 3 plays later and throw a 50-yard bomb for a touchdown, and now you're down 10 points. That's when the fans are going like, man, why did he do
What the
that?
heck did
Right.
you do that? Yeah.
And then on the other one, when they forego the field goal when they're down 10 points, it's like 11
Mhm.
minutes to go in the game. It's
Mhm.
4th and 3. You have a chip shot field goal for your field goal
Right.
kicker. You're going to need a field goal at some point anyway. So
Right.
why not take the 3 points there, cut it to 7, and go from there? Again, you go for it on the fourth down. Jared Goff throws the ball behind JMO, and you turn the ball over on downs there, so you don't get those points.
Right.
So again, like if they make these conversions, it's
Are
yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, we're not having this conversation, but unfortunately, they didn't make them. But again, this is something that I don't mind Dan Campbell's aggressiveness
I'm in a
when
place
the
though.
situation, yeah, when the situation called for it. But sometimes, man, when you see that your team is struggling a little bit,
Mhm.
and the game is not out of reach, man, you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta kick the ball, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta punt it or you gotta try to kick
They
a
can't
field
take the
goal.
field goal
But
to at least get some
you
points on the
know,
board.
I was always taught that any drive that ends with a kick is a successful drive.
Yeah. Some nothing, right? 'Cause at least you're putting some kind of, points
Well,
on the board. Well, you mean
a
just a
kick
kick in general, not even just a field
Yeah,
goal, just a kick
yeah,
in general.
a punt, like when you punt the
Yeah.
ball, at least you didn't turn the ball over,
Right. Yeah.
right? And you're and
Yeah.
you're you're playing field position against your opposition. You're forcing them
Yeah.
to have to gain more yards to score on you. So, obviously you want to score points when you have the ball, but when that's not possible, you got to kick the ball. But this is his approach, right? And like I said,
Mhm.
that's the thing for me that's a little bit frustrating with Dan is that he doesn't adapt to the moment of the game. You have to adapt. We saw that time and time again against Philadelphia, and
Mm.
again we saw it last night against the Packers. So that would be my
Right.
one criticism for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there is a silver lining that maybe it's too late, maybe it's not really gonna matter, but obviously there was announced that Frank Ragnow is gonna come out of retirement, but it's
Mm,
looking like he might not be even be available until the Rams game, and then from what we've seen with the Cowboys, who have now beat the Eagles and the Chiefs in a short week
mhm.
back to back, the Cowboys are not gonna be an easy game. So it's not
No,
I know you said no game is easy, but there are sometimes you see certain games with schedule, you're like, "Okay, that could be a win, it should be a win." But it's not any guarantee that the Lions are gonna beat the Cowboys next week as much as it probably pains you to admit. That is true. I mean, the
I'm
Cowboys
a
looked great
realist.
yesterday, So it's like if they don't win next week, now they've lost, what, 2 in a row, 3 of their
Mhm.
last 4, and then they go on the road to the Rams, who are the number 1 in the NFC. That
Right.
is gonna be a really, really tough game for them to try to bounce
Yeah.
back from it, essentially only have, what, 3 games left? 4 games
3
left from
games
that
left,
point?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be
So
a tough game, man. I mean, sitting here right now with my Lions gear on, being a Lions fan for so long, I have not seen anything that would make me
mhm,
believe that the Lions are
mhm.
gonna beat the Cowboys next Thursday night or beat the Rams in their next game. I haven't seen it. I mean, they
Yeah,
they have not demonstrated to me that they can beat a good team.
yeah,
It's just that simple. They have not demonstrated, and they're struggling against bad teams. I
right,
mean,
right.
they
Look at
they
the
they
freaking
lost
Giants, what the heck?
and then they lost to Minnesota. I mean,
Right,
Minnesota is a bad team, and the Lions
right.
lost to
They
lost to
lost to them.
Minnesota. So, I mean, unless they can flip the switch here and something dramatic happens, the one thing I will say is that with Saint being out and with Laporta being out, with Khalif Raymond being out, I don't know if Khalif
Mhm.
Raymond's going to play in this next game.
Yeah.
But with all those guys being out, my guy J-Mo should see way more targets.
Oh god, you did not go there. I'll give that to you. Okay.
I mean, if you live in a town that have those, then you know what I'm
Oh
saying
my
here.
god.
You
He
know the
was
little
waiting for
play
that moment.
you
He
know the
was
little
waiting
play
for
on
that
words.
moment.
So I will say that that's what, that was a good thing about it.
He
And then we
did.
saw what he could do. I mean, he had a career game
Right. He
yesterday,
did.
against the Packers. And to me, I've been advocating for this all season. I
All
mean, like
season.
for 2 or 3 seasons
For sure.
since they got this guy. Like, why aren't we targeting this guy even more? I understand St.
Yeah.
Brown is a good possession receiver. Sam Laporta is a good tight
Florida.
end. But
Yeah. Got the
J-Mo to
running
me is
game
more than
going.
just a deep threat. Yeah, they got the running game going. To me, J-Mo is to the passing game what Gibbs is to the running game. He's
Oh.
a threat every
Which
time he touched the ball,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
because even though what happened, yesterday, it still wasn't enough, but he still
Yeah.
himself had a great game yesterday. He made
Just
plenty of
that
plays. 'Cause
yeah,
that one drop pass wasn't really even on him, that was
that
on
wasn't
Jared
his
Goff
fault.
because
Yeah, that wasn't his
he
fault.
didn't throw him a bat he didn't throw him a good pass, so
Yeah,
he had a great
but
game.
yeah, but just on the touchdown pass that he caught, it was like a little wide receiver screen where he broke the
Yeah.
tackle right at the line of scrimmage, and boom, he was gone
Mhm.
for the touchdown. This is the type of playmaking that I think playmaking ability that he has, and yet for
Mhm.
some reason it took St. Brown getting hurt for them to start throwing the ball to him more.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, St. Brown definitely won't play in his next game against the Cowboys, and it
Yeah.
remains to be seen whether or not he'll play in the next game after that against LA.
Yeah.
But good that they will now be forced Jameson the
Some
ball a little bit
one
more.
more
But this leads us, to next Thursday night's
next
game against the
Thursday again
Cowboys,
against the
where
Cowboys,
now
yeah.
all of a sudden that game to me becomes an elimination game
Kind of a make or break
because
game, essentially,
it's
yeah.
an elimination game for both these teams. I know, the Lions are like a couple games now behind the Bears. They're behind Green Bay and the
Yeah.
division. So right now the Lions are playing for a wild card spot that they don't even have, secured yet.
Secured yet.
Right? So, I mean, they're one game behind the Eagles, but that's the other problem with the Lions is that all the teams that's in front of
Are ahead
them,
of them, they've lost to.
they've already lost to. And the
Yeah.
same thing with the Cowboys. So like if the
Right.
Cowboys were to lose to the Lions, now
Mhm.
they would be behind Detroit, they would be behind Chicago if Chicago was to fall back down or whatever. So, this is an
Which is not looking
elimination game.
likely.
Yeah, the Bears
And
are legit.
I guess my question is why I feel like I might know the answer to it is when I'm looking at the division standings, the Bucks
Mhm.
are 4th, but they're 6 and 5. Are they ranked
Correct.
that high because they're leading their division? Because
Correct.
the Lions beat the Bucks and they're 6 and 5.
Correct. Yeah, but the Bucks, the division, whoever wins the division automatically make it to the
Automatically get
playoffs.
so, oh, yeah, you told me that that's because
Mhm,
we talk about that as in relation to
mhm.
college football. It's like whoever wins their conference championship should be in the playoffs. So that
Right.
makes sense. That's why the Bucks are there.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
So
it.
yeah. So even if the Bucks finish with the worst record, and this happened before, like
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it
they
has.
can have a losing record, but if they
Mhm.
win their division, they
They're
automatically not only do
automatically
they
in.
automatically get the playoffs, they automatically get a
Then
home
they get a
game.
bye. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they don't get a bye, but
Oh, they don't get a bye. Okay.
you'll get a home game.
Okay.
So Tampa, whoever wins that division between Tampa and Carolina
Carolina.
will be in the playoffs. And probably the only representative from the NFC South will be whoever wins that division.
Mhm,
So this
mhm.
game coming up between Dallas and Detroit, it's a must win for both games. Dallas
Yeah.
looked good
They look great. I
against
mean,
the Chiefs.
other than that opening possession where Dak threw that interception and then a little bit on that last
Hmm.
possession in the 4th quarter, the Cowboys looked amazing yesterday
Yeah, and they've looked
against
pretty good
Kansas City. They looked pretty
since
good.
Since that second late
The
in that second
second
quarter
half.
against the Eagles, they look
Yeah.
pretty good. And listen, the Cowboys have the Lions left on their schedule, and I know they
Mhm.
have the Chargers left on their schedule.
That's
But
probably their
other than
2
that, they
toughest
have
games that they'll have.
yeah, they have the Giants left on their schedule. They have the Commanders left on their schedule. They will probably win 4 of their last 5
Mhm.
games. And they're sitting at
Yeah.
6 wins right now. So the
6 and
Cowboys
5,
have
yeah.
they have the I mean, it's really been something to see because going into their bye, the Cowboys had just lost to Arizona. They're
Mhm.
3-5-1, and
Mhm.
people pretty much thinking that the
Counted them
Cowboys
out
season is
already.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but since their bye, they made that trade to get Quentin Williams from the Jets.
Mhm.
Their
Mhm.
defense has improved. They got a couple guys back that were on IR who have missed the season up until that point. So the
Yeah.
Cowboys right now are looking very scary. They're looking very
Yeah.
scary. That's why I'm thinking like I don't
It's no
I don't have any
guarantee what's
faith.
gonna happen, yeah, with the Lions at
Yeah.
all. No, not at
I have no
all.
faith that they're going to win that game. And then now
Yeah.
you turn your attention to the Chiefs, who are now
Mhm.
6 and
6 and
6.
6. Yeah.
It's looking very, very, very bleak for them to
Mhm.
make the playoffs this year. Believe it or not, it's going to be an uphill battle for Kansas City to make the
Mhm.
playoffs. They pretty much would have to win out to make the playoffs because they are like the Cowboys, they're like the Lions, that all the teams that they're behind for the playoff
Mhm.
chase, they've already lost
They've
to.
always lost too. Yeah.
So they're going
Yeah.
to have to finish one game better than all those teams in order to make the playoffs, and it's going to be tough.
To be fair, all the teams that we've already talked about pretty much all have to win out the rest of the season. Maybe I don't even know if they can drop one more game, honestly.
Mm,
The Lions the same way. The Cowboys, they're in a better spot than they were to start the season. The Chiefs
yeah,
are not the typical Chiefs. The Cowboys just beat 2 of the teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, one of which who was the Super
yeah,
Bowl contending team from this year. It always is weird to me how from one year one team can look great and then another year the team cannot look so great,
yeah.
especially when there aren't really any big changes, at least to the players. Obviously, with the Lions, you can kind of credit it to being an off year because you lost both your
Hmm.
offense and your defensive coordinator, so that's going to hurt your team naturally. So you kind of have to rebuild that culture, that expectation, that kind of a thing. I don't really know what
Hmm.
went on other than obviously the Micah Parsons trade with the Cowboys. I don't know if there was like really any big staff changes, and then I mean the
Yeah, they
Chiefs seem
fired their
to still be.
coach.
Oh.
Yeah, the
Oh, well,
Cowboys
then
fired
there
their
you
coach.
go.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Cowboys fired their coach. Obviously, we kinda knew what was going on with the Chiefs because they had all those issues on the outside, but it still
hmm,
seems like even with, how amazing of a game Rashid Rice had yesterday, I mean, he seems to be Pat Mahomes' like main trusted target. They still lost the game. So
yeah.
even though they kinda solved all those issues, it hasn't really affected their season in a
I
good
think
way.
injuries always play a huge part in it. I mean, because the
Yeah.
Chiefs had a lot of banged up guys in their secondary yesterday, and the Cowboys were
Mhm.
able to exploit that. Dak passed for 320 yards, something like
Yeah,
that. I
something
mean,
like
yeah,
that.
they had a great game. It's hard to maintain momentum
Yeah.
from year to year, and that's why you look at like what Kansas City has been able to do since Pat Mahomes took over as their starting quarterback, winning their division like 7 years in a row, 8 years in a row, something maybe 9 years in a row. I don't know. They've
It's
won a
been like
lot.
9 years, but since
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah, like 9 years in a row. They've been in the AFC Championship game, like, every year since
Mhm.
he's been the starting quarterback, so when you see consistency like that, that's what makes that impressive because
Mhm.
you think that it's easy, but it's not easy. I mean, look, the Lions are, like, in year 3 now, right? And they're
Right.
struggling. They're
Right.
struggling to stay on top, so
Mhm.
it's just tough to do, man. It's
Right.
tough to do, so the Chiefs are in an uphill battle. The AFC West is tough. The Broncos are leading the division.
Mhm.
The Chargers are a solid team. I think they're 7-4 right now, and they've already beat Kansas City head to head.
Right. Yeah, the
I
first
don't
game
know
of
who
the season.
the first game of the season. I don't know who the Chargers play coming up here on Sunday,
Mm-mm.
but if they win that game, now they're 2 games ahead of
Ahead
Kansas
of the
City,
Chiefs,
plus
yeah.
they own the tiebreaker. So it's going to be
Mhm.
tough. It's going to be tough for Kansas City to fight back and make it to the playoffs. But Cowboys have a chance not only to but we see what's happening with the Eagles here. The Eagles are coming back to the pack a little bit. The Cowboys, they only a game and a half,
Mhm.
out of first place in the NFC East, and they have a
Right.
favorable schedule coming down the stretch. And so do the Eagles. I think the Eagles have a favorable schedule. So I think the Eagles' next game is against the Chargers, and then I know they have 2 games left against the Commanders.
Commanders,
So
yeah.
the Eagles will still likely win the NFC East, but I think it's
Right.
going to take other than the team that wins the NFC South. I think it's going to take 10 wins at least to get to the
Mhm.
playoffs. So that's what
For
it
the
means. So
NFC,
for the
just the
both
NFC period?
conferences, really, yeah, I think
Oh,
both
okay.
conferences you're going to need at least 10
Well,
wins
especially in
to
the
make it to the
AFC, I mean, they
playoffs.
have a lot
Hmm.
of, I mean, I don't wanna say a lot of good teams because obviously there's the same amount of teams in both division, but
Hmm.
I feel like there's a lot of teams with who are above 500. The Chiefs would win their division now in previous
Right.
years they would have been one
Yeah.
because other teams are so bad.
They'll be
So right
dominating
now
so
they'd
much.
be dominating so hard, which is not the case.
Another team that will usually be dominating their division is the Ravens. We
Yeah.
saw them, they won 5 straight games, and then
Mhm.
I don't know what that was last night
Right.
against the Bengals, and the Bengals got Joe Burrow back. I mean, they look pretty
Right.
good. The
But I
Ravens
mean,
made
you
a
really
ton of mistakes.
but yes, obviously Joe Burrow is back, so everybody can credit that the Bengals finally won because of Joe Burrow. But when you look at quarterback stats, they kind of played the same. Both of them had like a 53% passing rating. Joe Burrow had a few more yards than Lamar Jackson, but obviously Lamar Jackson had way more mistakes than Joe Burrow had during that game. But
Yeah.
in terms of accuracy and how many yards they were able to produce on the field, Joe Burrow didn't do much more than Lamar Jackson did. They just, but he
They
was
played a cleaner game.
cleaner game. Yes, exactly.
That's what happened. I mean, the Ravens made a ton of mistakes. I mean, you saw, I
They
mean,
had what,
they got a
5 turnovers?
yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
versus the
Yeah,
Bengals 1?
they had that. I think it was a bad call on one of the touchdowns that they
Mhm.
got called back. They called an offensive pass interference on Zay Flowers, which was a bogus call. So they had that go wrong. We saw another instance where a player fumbled the ball at the goal line. Even though, Lively, he wasn't trying to celebrate. The defensive player just made a great play.
Right.
Knocked the ball out of his hand, and then it went out of the back of the end zone or the side of the end zone or wherever it went out. And that negated another touchdown. So that's 14 points right there that the Ravens
Right.
lost on turnovers and bad calls by the officials, if you will.
Mhm.
But so the Bengals were able to take advantage of that, though. They played a cleaner game. The stats were the same. You didn't expect Burrow really to dominate the game. I mean, the guy hadn't played in 2 months almost,
Right,
or
he'd
over
been
two
out for
months.
so long. Yeah.
I think he missed 9 games, and they lost 8 of the games that he missed. But again, the Ravens or the Steelers were not running away with the AFC North.
Right.
So that left Cincinnati. I think we talked about this last week.
Last ep
It left Cincinnati in there, with a
Right.
chance to win the division because they still played the Ravens twice. And
Mhm.
now they just beat the Ravens.
The
So
wins,
now,
yeah.
depending on what the Steelers do on Sunday here, the Bengals may only be 2 games behind the
Mhm.
Ravens, for the division lead. So they still have a
Yeah.
chance. I mean, it's 4 games, 5 games, whatever it is to go. They still have an opportunity to possibly, as crazy as it
Crazy as that
sounds,
sounds, yeah, for him
they
being
have an
out for so long.
opportunity.
Yeah.
But the other positive thing for the Bengals, I mean, even when Burrow was out, the offense wasn't the
Offense was never
problem. It was
struggling. Yeah, it
it
was the
was the
defense that was
defense.
always
But the
struggling. Yeah, that's
defense,
gonna be my
yeah,
next point, and they did good
they
today because
played
that's not
well.
how they well, not today, but, when they played
Yeah,
yesterday, has not been the case,
yeah.
really at all. Even when Joe Burrow wasn't hurt, I mean, we
Mhm,
had those crazy stats when they were the only team in NFL to score, like,
mhm.
36 or some odd points and then still lose the game.
And still look
Unfortunately, the offense for the Bengals has never really been the issue. I mean, then you have a
right.
quarterback like, Joe Flacco come in. He's obviously a true vet in the NFL. So you
Mhm,
have someone at least knows the game, understands what's going on. You're not relying on a rookie or somebody who's never really been out there. So
right.
they have something going with their offense. It's just that at least yesterday, on top of mistakes and their defense obviously playing better, then they were able to win the game against the
Yeah.
Ravens.
And that's what they need. I mean, you need to
Yeah.
play that complementary football. You can't rely on the offense going out, scoring 30 plus points every game, even though in that game, the Bengals scored 32 points last night, 31, 32 points. But you can't rely on that week in and
Every
week
single
out.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to run into some games where, the offense may struggle a little bit and you need the
Mhm.
defense to lift you up. And that's
Yeah.
what happened. They were on the road, tough environment, Thanksgiving night. I'm pretty sure
Right.
they sat in a hotel all day, wishing they were
Didn't get
someplace
enough
else.
food, wasn't with their families.
Yeah, much credit to the Bengals for pulling out that game last night.
The Eagles did not pull out their game today, just now, ended. Boop. They are now 8
Yeah,
and 4. Only thing I have to say about that, biggest thing I have to say about that is the fans was getting on my nerves. All that excessive booing, like y'all act like y'all 4 and 8. Y'all are 8 and 4. Calm down.
yeah.
Like,
What did I tell you
God
about
forbid
fans?
I know, but it's so annoying. Like, you guys had a bad game. I mean,
Mhm.
okay, maybe you've had a couple of bad games, but like everybody always says, you don't ever apologize for winning games in the NFL. And you guys have been winning games. Like, okay, today was not great, but it has been proven, obviously, at this point that the Bears are not a bad team. Hello, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well,
but
it wasn't proven to me until today.
yeah,
I wasn't sold on Chicago
yeah,
until today. They hadn't really beaten anybody. Again, their record
yeah,
was impressive.
yeah,
They won a lot of games, last minute touchdowns, field goals,
yeah,
block
field
kicks, and that sort of
goals,
thing. But
yeah.
They dominated
The
this game.
Eagles,
They rushed
100%.
for almost 300 yards in this game, if not more than 300
Mhm.
yards in this game against Philadelphia. And Philadelphia's defense is supposed to be one of the
Could be
best
really, really
defenses.
good, but they didn't look good
And
today.
yeah, I mean, for a large portion of that game until it was like, what, 24-9, I think
Yeah.
the Eagles only had 7 first downs in the game,
Yeah.
only like 100 yards passing. I mean, the Bears dominated that
Mhm.
game. And now, the Bears are legit. You have to give the Bears a lot of credit. And this is
Mhm.
why, I think this is what make Lions fans a little bit more
So
frustrated
irritated,
is
yeah.
because they got Ben Johnson and now the Bears are doing better than the
Than the
Lions.
Lions, and yeah, and I told you when we were watching the game, it was like if he was the coach of any other team, especially
Mhm.
who wasn't in your division, you'd be happy. Like, "Okay,
Right.
cool, great for him," but now it's like, "Seriously?" 'Cause, like, I know they're better than the Lions, they're leading the NFC North, they're, what, 2 games ahead of them, we still have to play them one more time, and it's in
Mhm.
Chicago, and judging by how the Lions been playing versus how the Bears have been playing since each of those games,
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that the Lions are gonna win that game.
No.
So, we'll see, but
It was funny when I looked at the schedule when it first came out, being that it was the last game, it's
Mhm.
January, it's gonna be cold outside.
Mm.
I was hoping that for the Lions, that game really
They
didn't
would've
have
been
any
there had
meaning.
to be it didn't matter,
Have
they
any
would have handled
meaning.
business before that, but it's just not gonna be the case at this point.
It might be, but it might be for the
Yeah,
wrong reason.
right.
You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it might not mean anything because,
Right.
the Lions may not
It's
be
the
able to make the
season could be
playoffs.
over anyway, yeah, so they
Yeah,
might put
yeah,
anybody in
did not.
regardless. Yeah.
I hate when experts are right, and all the
Yeah.
experts, not all of them, but a lot of experts predicted that the Lions would not make the playoffs this year. And I was just like,
I
and they
remember
went
you saying
freaking
that. Yeah, you're like, what, 15
52.
and 2 or whatever last year. You think they're
Yeah,
not even gonna make the playoffs this year? And
yeah.
they
But
kinda caught
who
that
else,
pretty early on,
who else
so
went 15-2 last year? The Kansas City Chiefs.
right.
So
Yeah.
it may be a situation where you see both teams that went 15-2 last
Mhm.
year turn around the next year and not make the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, but how
That
do
was
you have
on.
to be to be an Eagles fan, and you guys won the freaking Super Bowl last year? Not even the fans, just the players, and
Mhm.
you guys they're 8-4 now, they're not horrible, but yeah,
They're
the
still in first
because
place.
there were a couple plays in the game when they picked off Caleb Williams, and they were able to get down the field, and then to the Bears' credit, they stopped the tush push. Not only
Right.
that, they fumbled the
Yeah.
ball from Jalen Hurts, and they were able to, capitalize off of that too, because they had a couple of turnovers that
Mhm.
the Eagles defense was able to come back and stop it, and then it
Right.
could have been way worse than what it was, but, I
Right.
mean, still, again, you just never really know, and then they keep talking about all the drama and stuff with the offense, and the announcers were kinda debunking some of
Mhm.
that stuff a little bit during the game, especially because A.J. Brown had a lot of touches today, he had a lot of production today as
Right.
well, and they were saying that there's some kind of negative picture that's been painting about him, that he's a diva, that he's spoiled, and XYZ, and I forget who they said it was, somebody on the Eagles staff who was just like, "That's the furthest thing from the truth." It's just that he
Right.
just wants to help the team, he wants to win, and it's just coming off in the wrong way. People are just hearing things they wanna hear and then making their own story about it.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing about that is that fans get spoiled real easy.
Mhm.
You were talking about how the fans were booing.
The booing is crazy.
Yeah, but fans,
That was
they get
crazy.
spoiled. Your team has some success and you just think that it's always gonna be like that. The Lions
Mhm.
fans are the same way.
Yeah.
The Lions have sucked my whole life. But I mean, literally, my other than a couple
Yeah, I
years here and
know.
there, the Lions have sucked my whole life. But the
Mhm.
last couple years, the Lions have been really, really good,
Really, really
right?
good.
There
Mhm.
there hasn't been that many times in my life that at Thanksgiving the Lions had a 7-5 record.
Right.
Now
Right.
they have a 7-5 record, and the fans feel like the season is over.
Yeah.
Fans get spoiled, and the Lions didn't win the Super
Really
Bowl.
easy.
They haven't even
Yeah.
been to the Super Bowl, but fans get
Yeah.
spoiled very easily, man. When you
Yeah.
get taste of success, fans want it to be that way all the time. They don't
All the
wanna hear no
time.
excuses. They don't wanna hear any of that. They just want you to win,
Yeah.
and when you stumble and you lose a couple games like the Eagles have here, the fans they leaving early. They boo
Yeah,
every
crazy.
time the team don't score.
Right, 3 and out, they boo, and somebody make one mistake, like,
I
is this
mean,
a
I
home
I
game or
hear
an away game? Jeez.
I hear fans booing at Ford Field
That's
with the
crazy.
Lions. They
Yeah.
I mean, really? I mean, really? I mean, and that's when you start realizing that there are a lot of bandwagon
Yeah,
fans,
like fair weather
you know?
fans,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah.
everybody loves a winner, right? I
Right,
mean,
yeah,
everybody it's cool to be a Detroit Lions fan when they're winning.
when they're winning,
But now
yeah.
all of a sudden when they lose, it's just like, "Oh, this same old Lions, this team always suck." And prior to like maybe 6, 7 years ago, it was the same thing for the Eagles. The Eagles
Yeah.
were good, but they could never get over the hump and get back to the Super Bowl. But then once they started winning, now all of a sudden fans just expect them to win every game. And
Yeah,
if they
fly
don't,
Eagles
they're not.
fly, go Birds.
They want, they want to fire the coach. He ain't a good coach. They just using him as a puppet. I mean, I've heard all of these things about Nick Sirianni, and I'm like, the dude just
Right.
freaking won the Super
The
Bowl. What are we
Super
talking
Bowl,
about
yeah,
here?
yeah,
But that's just how fans are, man. And until
yeah.
you win,
It's gonna keep being that.
you're gonna continue
Mhm.
to hear the boos, man,
Yeah,
because it's not enough that you win. Fans want you to win pretty. They
yeah,
want you to be impressive when you do it,
right,
and a lot of times you don't want to give the other team credit.
right,
It's not like, Chicago was not trying to win the game. I mean, it's not like Philadelphia was going out there and deliberately fumbling the ball and not converting on third down. I mean, the Bears
right.
has something to do with that.
Yeah, you always say you always, hyper focus on what your team did wrong
Right.
versus even what the other teammate did wrong, but also what they also did right
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
The Bears did a lot of
Yeah.
things right. Same thing last year when the Lions lost to the Commanders. Everybody was like, "Oh, Jared Goff did X, Y, Z." I'm like, the Commanders basically played a perfect game. Like
Exactly. Exactly.
those things you got to look at as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So that's just part of being a fan, man. I mean, I
Mhm,
try not to be like that. Try to
mhm,
look at it from objectively from both perspectives. But I
for
mean, I guess
sure.
sometimes that is hard.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's hard. It's
yeah,
frustrating. I mean, it's
yeah.
especially like for me yesterday, I was very frustrated that
Yeah,
the
I know. I was
Lions
just like,
lost
"Man,
the
come on,
game.
it's Thanksgiving. Like, hello, be
I was,
happy. It's
I
just a
mean, the Lions have
game."
ruined, the Lions have ruined a mini Thanksgiving for me because they lose even though they play every year on Thanksgiving. Another thing
Yeah.
that frustrated me about the whole Thanksgiving Day thing is that, the Lions started the tradition, back in
Right.
1934. They started the
Yeah.
tradition. The Cowboys came along and said, hey, that's a good
Oh
idea. We
god.
want to play on Thanksgiving too, and they started doing it in 1966,
Mhm.
but the Lions started the tradition, but the Cowboys have been more successful, obviously, than the
Yeah.
Lions overall, and they've
Yeah.
been more successful than the Lions, obviously, on Thanksgiving. The
On
Cowboys
Thanksgiving
usually win
Day.
on
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. The Lions
Yeah.
usually lose on Thanksgiving.
Lose.
And so
Yeah.
when you have that scenario play, I'm like, man, it's just frustrating, because,
'Cause not only were you
for
frustrated after they lost the game, and then for the next game, then the freaking
yeah,
Cowboys
like,
win. You was done with the
these
day.
jokers win.
It was
It's
done
just a
with the day.
frustrating day. Just a frust and it wasn't always like that, but,
Yeah.
with greater expectations becomes
Mhm.
greater frustrations when your team
Yeah.
doesn't succeed, right?
For
Because for many
sure.
years you really didn't Lions would come into the Thanksgiving Day game, they already like 4-8. Your season already over with. So you just watching the game to give you something to do, and no expectations. If they
Yeah.
win, they win. If they
If
lose, they
not,
lose.
cool. Yeah.
But when they come into these games now, the last couple of years with something on the line and they don't win, you're just like, man,
It's
really?
yeah. Like, what are y'all
When this is
doing?
our tradition, man. Win the freaking
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well,
so
it
it's
didn't
just another
happen.
reason I
It
hate the
didn't happen.
Cowboys. They want to be America's team. They steal our tradition, and now it's theirs.
Yep.
Just forget the Cowboys, man.
Well, as your favorite grandson said yesterday, "How about them
How
Cowboys?"
about them Cowboys? Yeah, there's another getting roasted by a 10-year-old. That's the other
That's crazy
thing.
work. It's crazy
Like,
getting coached
really?
by a
Yeah, that's
10-year-old. It's
crazy work.
crazy.
Yeah.
You are never gonna live that down, especially if they lose next week. Oh my god, you might have to
Oh
move out.
goodness, yeah. Yeah, I probably will. Just go on vacation.
Go on vacation for a little bit,
Just
put
go
him
on
out
vacation.
something. Because
Yeah.
yeah, don't.
Yeah.
And you also lucky too
Yeah.
that the game is in Detroit because you would have been taking him to that game too. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it.
All right, yeah,
We'll see what happens here on Sunday. Well, we got
yeah.
tomorrow with the
We have
Michigan Ohio State
tomorrow with the
game. So
Michigan
all the
Ohio
big
State
college
game.
games. So
Yeah. Then we have some good
yeah.
college games tonight, Texas A&M and Texas. I'll be watching that in about an hour. And
Mm-hmm.
then,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, we got some D game tomorrow. D
Yeah.
game.
Tomorrow.
We'll
Tomorrow
see.
noon. Yeah.
Tomorrow
All righty,
morning. So
babe.
we'll see. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up here. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We hope that you guys enjoyed it just as much as we did. Of course, if you haven't already, please go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you get updated whenever we upload an episode. And of course, it also helps us out as well. All right. Stay tuned and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Go Blue.